Welcome back. Now, young Nigerians make up the largest population of the growing flow of migrants from Africa to developed countries. The disturbing situation, however, is the means through which these Africans are migrating. Over 80% of those involved in the Mediterranean Sea crossing were reported to be from Nigeria. Meanwhile, hundreds of Nigerian migrants are also being deported on a daily basis from various destinations, including Italy, Libya, South Africa, and of course, several others. These young people embark on very risky journeys across the globe, and casualties continue to increase on a daily basis. To find a lasting solution to this menace, United Nations agency, the International Organization for Migration, IOM, has over a decade continued to make conscious efforts to promote the universal principle of safe, humane, and orderly migration. Since 2017 now, the IOM has assisted more than 30,000 stranded migrants back to Nigeria in coordination with the federal government. The IOM has also spent huge sums of money to evacuate back home now hundreds of Nigerians, most of whom were trafficked to Libya en route Europe with promises of better lives. Now, to discuss in details what the mission is about and its effort in tackling irregular migration in the country, I have the IOM's Chief of Mission to the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Laurent Debouk. Mr. Debouk, thank you very much for coming on the program. Tell us exactly what your mission is planning for the World Day for Migration that is coming up.
Yes, on 18 December we'll celebrate the International Migrants Day indeed, and we want to actually accentuate the fact that it's important to have all of the community being accountable and responsible for the life of the people. So engaging everyone is extremely important. We cannot just leave those young Nigerians going or coming back without taking care of them. So we want to pass a message that it's extremely important that the entire society, so it's the government indeed, but as well all the other sectors of the society being involved to make a change.
And talking about these Nigerians now who are coming back, I know just as I said in my intro, the IOM has assisted about 30,000, if not more than that, to come back home. Tell us specifically what program you have in place in terms of the assistance of this African, especially Nigerian migrants now to come back home, and that when they get back home, what exactly does the IOM do now to help them resettle?
Yeah, we have assisted them to come back, so that's already preparing them. So working with our offices where they are to prepare to check their health and see whether upon arrival they need any specific support. But then we have to receive them and ensure that they reintegrate the society in dignity. You may imagine that a lot of them have suffered, went through difficulties, so we have to do anything individually to understand what they went through, identify then the solutions for them. It might vary from psychosocial health, but also skills and professional reintegration. They have to go back, as I said, in dignity, so they have to be able to be proud of themselves and gain back their self-esteem. So we work on developing this with them individually and develop their skills for being sure that they reintegrate the society, reintegrate in the labor market particularly.
I'm aware that the IOM is doing a lot in terms of creating awareness now to discourage irregular migration. You've been carrying out several campaigns in the country and all of that, but you look at the wave of migration we have, especially in Nigeria at the moment, it doesn't appear it's abating at all. So does it mean your campaigns are not making any impact at all? Because you have more and more young people wanting to travel outside of the country through the irregular means.
Well, actually, first of all, we do campaigns, we inform people indeed, but it's also extremely important to respond to the causes and the reasons why they are leaving. So that's why we have specific programs also to help developing their skills instead of thinking that the future is outside. So we work also at telling them the danger of smugglers, the danger of traffickers, but also we have to follow up because we don't respond to the problem by just telling them not to go. So we have programs looking at developing the labor market and the capacity for them to be included. So that's quite important. It's very the core of the action in the prevention. Is not a campaign exclusively. What is positive, and we have seen, if in the recent past the majority of the departure were from Edo State, we see a decrease. And a decrease because the government is engaged, private sector is engaged, we work with the civil society, and we have seen that actually there are less and less people living from that region. What is sad is that actually people are living from other states now, and we see more and more people living from Kano.
Yes, and that's quite a surprise, because what do you think is the problem? In the past, you know, this was not a trend in the north of the country, but now it's a big issue. What do you think is responsible for it?
So far what we understand is that they have exactly the same reasons. It's socioeconomic reasons, looking for employment, or the displacement or the movements of the traffickers and smugglers to other parts of the country. So we have to still assess this because it's quite a recent change. So we are discussing, we have staff now who have flew to Kano. We are establishing a center to respond to the needs, but then they will also carry out assessment and understand better the conditions, which push the people to believe that lives will be better elsewhere and be embarked by smugglers and traffickers.
Now, some of these migrants who have returned from Libya, for instance, usually come back with, you know, horrific tales of what they went through trying to cross the Mediterranean Sea and what they went through in Libya. And I know you've had lots of stories, but and I know you still continue to assist in bringing back Nigerian migrants who are trapped in Libya. What exactly is the situation of the Nigerian migrants now who are still trapped in Libya? What exactly is the situation? What is the likely number, and what exactly is the IOM doing now to return them back to the country?
Well, there are various situations of them being intercepted in Libya. Either they come directly to our office, like abandoning, giving up their situation of traveling further, realizing the danger, actually, so they change their mind. So that's a part. Others, it's due to, they are intercepted by the authorities, the Libyan authorities, and put in prison. So our office is there, and the colleagues are negotiating with the Libyan authority to let them go under our auspices and come back. But that's for the Libya case. Some are still there crossing and succeeding to cross, but then being intercepted either at sea or in Italy particularly, and then we are returning them also. So it depends on the situation. It's really very different from one to another.
Now, some people tend to get the impression that the IOM what the IOM basically does is to discourage migration because there's nothing wrong with migration anyway. So some people get that impression that you're trying to discourage migration, but is that the case?
It's not. To the contrary, actually, our role is to discuss with governments, with any parties on a well-funded, well-organized migration being profitable for the migrant, for the society receiving the person and society of origin. But there are conditions to do so, and that's what we are promoting, is being prepared. The legal ways is the best way. So there are skills which are needed, so that's why we are looking at how we can improve the skills of the people, either to integrate their labor market in their country of origin, but also to develop the markets in the country of destination, and that at least it matches. Because if people go without understanding even the conditions and what is needed there, that's where they are actually much more vulnerable to smugglers, but then upon arrival to traffickers willing to exploit them. So that's what we would like to inform, get prepared, and put in place systems which allow them to access these skills and mechanisms for embarking into a legal process.
Let's talk about your reintegration process. I mean, I have covered some of your entrepreneurship training programs and all of that for these returned migrants now. What's the success rate so far? How would you describe it in terms of success now? What's the rate? Is it achieving the results that you and targets that you have set for yourselves?
As you mentioned, we have so far assisted 30,000 people, sorry. And I've been visiting some of them recently in Edo State. I've seen associations of 5,000 people, so 5,000 returnees helping each other and all reintegrated into the society. So they went through a special program on reinsertion with, as mentioned, self-esteem, skills acquirement, and creating their own business. We organized forum for them to exchange their good practice. They self-organize themselves to discuss with the government of what is needed for them from the authorities to facilitate their reinsertion. We are aware that not all of them are successful, and unfortunately some are again trying their way irregularly out of the country. I don't know exactly the percentage, but even if one person leaves again, that makes us, gives us incentives to continue and start again, reiterating the danger of irregular migration.
It must be pretty difficult. I mean, your job must be pretty difficult, especially given the fact that the basic reasons why a lot of people, young people especially, migrate, not just from this country, but what we have seen across, especially across the West African sub-region and even in other places, is for economic reasons. And you look at the economic conditions in some of the countries, especially in the West African sub-region, the Sahel. Well, nothing much to write home about. It's not as if conditions are improving. So that must it must make your job pretty difficult, that it does not appear, economic conditions are improving in some of these countries.
No, indeed, it is. But on the other hand, it's also motivating to see that there are some who are successful and we can replicate this success. What we see is the willingness of some actors, such as the private sector, to be engaged and to take responsibility to facilitate their integration, or the responsibility to save the lives of the people. So we cannot alone, the government cannot alone, but we look at all actors, and that's the subject of this International Migrants Day. Like, it takes a community that everybody should be engaged in doing it. I think there are a lot of goodwill, and that we are really positive with. Each time we see a person who is in need, we try to increase our assistance. And we receive a lot of support, so that we are really encouraged by the positive attitude of a lot of actors.
Iom'S Chief of Mission to the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Laurent Debok, thank you very much for coming on the program. Well, that's how much we can take on the program. We thank you very much for watching. I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.